Good morning. It's the beginning of my second day in Rome and it's a beautiful day. I'll show you how sunny it is outside in a second. And because it's so lovely, I thought the best place to go would be the park. Now there are several parks near my hotel. The one that I'm most excited to show you is the Appian Way Regional Park. I'm going to tell you a few things from my phone now. I'm not going to pretend that I knew this stuff before I came here. I didn't. The Appian Way is a very, very long road that stretches through that park and several other parks. And back in 71 BC, the Romans judged that the slaves had forfeited their right to live, and they crucified 6,000 slaves along this route. The Appian Way, or Via Appia Antica in Rome, is one of the most famous ancient roads. It was built in 312 BC by Appius Claudius, I hope I'm pronouncing this right, Caecus? C-A-E-C-U-S, Caecus. Caecus? In its entirety, it spanned 350 miles. The Appian Way stretched from the Roman Forum to modern-day Brindisi. I'll tell you a little bit about it as we navigate the parks. I'm going to not wear these. I'm going to wear my big walking boots. So we might do around 20 miles today if we're lucky. What do you think? The Appian Way Regional Park is a protected area and it spans over 3,400 hectares. The park aims to be a green wedge between the centre of Rome and the Alban Hills to the southeast. The idea of a great archaeological park between the Roman Forum and the Alban Hills actually dates all the way back to Napoleonic times. The road, the Appian Way itself, was originally made not by man but by nature. A volcano erupted and the lava flooded downhill, and it created the longest road in Rome. Within the Appian Way Regional Park is the Catacombs of San Callisto. It's the largest catacomb in Rome. Filming and photography are prohibited, so even though I went down there and I had a good look around, I wasn't allowed to take any photos. Luckily for us, people have been down there with cameras before and taken photos. So the pictures that you're seeing of San Callisto are all from the archives of worldsiteguides.com. You may see in the walls some very dark alcoves. Bodies were put into coffins that were very small, so that there was very little air and moisture that could get into them. And then those stone coffins were slid into the rock face that you can see there and sealed up very tightly. On the outside of each crypt there was also a carving of some kind to denote who was buried there, and also to say a few words about their journey into the afterlife. Some of the statues, like the one you see here of Saint Cecilia, were made much later and are actually kept in the crypt as donations from other museums. Much of the catacombs of San Callisto have been raided over the years, and the people who were buried there were buried not in the Christian tradition entirely. Their own traditions were respected to some extent, and many of the people who were buried there at the time the catacombs were being filled with bodies believed that they would need safe passage across the river Styx, and the way to do that was to pay with goods. So they were buried with goods not because, like the ancient Egyptians, they would have those goods in the afterlife, but in order to pay the boatmen to carry them across the river Styx. Some people believe that the practice of underground burials was derived from the persecution of the Christians and the need to keep the graves safe, but others think that this was just a custom at the time, and due to the fact that they owned little land, it was an effective way for them to bury large numbers of people. Something that's interesting about the Catacombs of San Callisto in particular is the catacombs themselves, the caves themselves, are pre-Christian, actually. Their volcanic rock was dug out for the purpose of stone masonry and left large quarries and craters underground, which were then the beginning of the catacombs when the Christians began to use it as a burial place.